Okay, hello everyone. We're going to give it another minute before we start with today's webinar. And as you can see on the screen, we're going to discuss basic social media content and marketing strategies. And this is going to be very basic, and we're going to have more curriculum developed down the road for more intensive aspects with social media content and marketing strategies. So this is a basic overview. But again, we're going to wait one more minute before we start to let other people come in. There are quite a few people in right now, so we're just going to give it another minute. Okay, we're just going ahead and get started. I think everyone is here that's going to join us today. And again, as you can see on the presentation, we're going to cover basic social media content and marketing strategies. This is just a reminder for those who have been on several of these webinars from the beginning that the digital storytelling series with PBS Western Reserve is for community partners, members, and individuals that can learn or want to learn the tools in creating digital content for effective digital storytelling. You will learn about digital content creation through website creation, video, audio, podcasting, and today, content strategy. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to submit any questions or comments in the chat box during the presentation. In today's topics, we're going to talk about the 5 W's of your strategy. And that's once again, the social media content and marketing strategy. What is a social media content marketing, a social media content and marketing strategy? The benefits of a social media content and marketing strategy. The steps in developing a content marketing strategy. Planning and creating content, and distribution and tracking. Again, this is going to be a general overview. So we're going to run through, give you the overall basics, and you will have my contact information later on if you want to get into specific where we'll have resources I can send you, and we'll have a curriculum based on this later on down the line. Now we're going to get into the 5 W's of your strategy. And once again, this is your content and marketing strategy. Now, a lot of people might have an initiative or a goal, but they're for your content or your social media campaign, but you need to ask several questions before you even get started. And this is even before you really learn what a content strategy is. And here's the 5 questions, the 5 W's. Why do you want to be on social media? And I brought this question up on a few occasions when it came to video podcasting, to audio podcasting. This is the primary question I always ask. Why do you want to be on social media? What is your purpose? Number 2, who is your target audience? Who are you trying to reach? Where you have a lot of people on social media, a lot of demographics, and you have to know your target audience, which we're going to get in later, to determine the right approach, the right content, the right message for their target audience. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to your goals and your efforts. What are you going to share? When you have content, which the previous webinars were guiding you along to create, now you want to share it. Now you have a purpose behind it. You want to get people to come to it, visit it, share it, what have you. You have to determine what is you going to share first. Where are you going to share? Now, social media, once again, is not one size fits all because you have certain audiences that are on Facebook, other audiences that are on Twitter, some are IG, different audience, different places. So you have to determine where you're going to be at, where's your audience going to be. When are you going to share? With each platform having different target audiences will consume or interact with social media at specific times of the day. So you have to be strategic in that. So these are the 5 questions you should have before you even get into the realm of having your content to market it. Why do you want to be on social media? Who is your target audience? And what are you going to share? Where are you going to share it? And when are you going to share it? These are the first 5 questions you should write down before you even get started. What is a social media content and marketing strategy? There are several aspects through the different webinars all through the series. I always provide many different definitions. And one of the premises behind that is that you really can't put one definition on one thing or one element or one new aspect in social media because things are always changing. So I provide different aspects so you can kind of mold it together for your understanding. So the first one is social media content and marketing is using social media platforms to sell a product or service, promote a brand or event with creative content. Social media strategy is also an outline of your social media goals, tactics, and measurements to track progress. So you have two definitions here to wrap your mind around. So a lot of people will, on number 1, just take their content and just do a blanket approach across all social media platforms to perform any of these services, selling a product or promoting a brand or event or with creative content. It's a blanket effort. Now on aspect number 2, it's an outline. And just a minute ago, the 5 W's, I suggest you write it down, type it down, whatever you need to do. And then the second thing you do is do an outline of your strategy, your social media goals, your tactics, and how you're going to measure it. You got to get these things done before you start this campaign. All right, there are benefits of a social media content and marketing strategy. Now, this is relatively long title, social media content and marketing strategy. Some people even truncate it to say content marketing. Different scope, but the way I try to tell people, if you have social media content, hence a podcast, audio podcast, a website, a blog, or anything of that nature, that's your content. Now you're trying to get your target audience to come in, visit your content, engage it, share it, or whatever. So the whole scope of it is taking bits of the content you've already created, use that bits of the content and target a certain audience on different platforms to come and consume the content you already created. So in short, is using pieces of the content that you've already created to drive traffic to your main platform of your content. So you're using your own content to drive people to your major aspect of your content. And I'm gonna go back to that a little later. So here's the benefits of it. A social media content and marketing strategy helps in learning what, when, and where to publish to help increase the visibility and impact of your content. Again, social media content and marketing strategy. That's the small pieces of your content that helps in learning what, when, and where to publish to help increase the visibility and impact of your content. And the second part, the aspect of that content, is your main platform of what you've created, where your video podcast may be, your audio podcast may be, your website may be, or everything all combined. If you have a platform, you're using small pieces of your major content to drive traffic and teach them what, when, and how to get to your primary platform. So I'm gonna read it one more time. A social media content and marketing strategy helps in learning what, when, and where to publish to help increase the visibility and impact of your content. The other aspect is I always tell people to have your platform outside of social media. Social media is just a tool to drive traffic to your primary platform that you have more control of, rather than having Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're posting stuff at control your materials. Having your own platform like a website is a better way to go with the way things are changing in the social media world. A social media content and marketing strategy guides you along to achieve your plans and goals. Now, without an outline, many people just maybe have an event or having a product, and they go have a small social media still image marketing campaign created. It might be 2 or 3 images highlighting a business logo, brand, or whatever. And they take those 3 images and just, for example, post on Facebook. So Facebook, you can hit Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and a couple other ones with a campaign through Facebook. They just do a blanket strategy. Hey, I'm gonna put so much money and I'm just gonna boost it. And it's really not an outline, it's not a goal, it's just a one-time boost, and hopefully you'll catch something. But here, a social media content and marketing strategy guides you along to achieve your plans and goals. The keys in this is plans and goals. A lot of people just get out here and just do a big blanket campaign for a few weeks with a few bucks and sit back and just wait on the results without planning or having goals. This type of approach is more of what I call social media hope. With a plan, the plan is really stressed out, strategized, planned out, etc. And you have measurements to go along with it. All right. Now we're going to go over a few steps in developing a social media content and marketing strategy. Again, your primary platform is you want people to come to your primary platform where the crux of your content is existing. And you're using tidbits of your content to bring your audience to it. You're guiding them with this. So here's some of the steps. Now I'm gonna go over slowly, I'm gonna repeat it a couple of times to kind of hammer it in. You have to learn your audience. Everybody on social media does not think the same. They do not have the same habits, consumption habits. They don't have the same interest as most of you may already know. There's a lot of, people may say there's a lot of clutter on the internet, a lot of voices. You have to learn your audience. What do I mean by learning your audience? Who are they? You have a product, you have a service, you have an event. You have to specify who you're trying to reach. Who are they? What they look like? How old are they? What aspects of careers may they be in? Are they interested in your content or objective? If you have an event, are people wanting to get out? Are people wanting to come see your event? If you have a blog, if you have information you want to share, are they interested in your content? If you know them so well, what platforms are they most engaged? For example, Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, more information, more engagement. Instagram is a photo-based video consumption platform. Does your audience spend more time on Instagram, or do they spend more time on Facebook? You can Google search any website and just ask for demographics for Instagram and Facebook, and they will break down what age groups, what gender, what careers, what have you, on each different platform. And then we'll show you their level of engagement. Then you have to determine with their habits, when and how do they consume content. You may have an older demographic who consumes in the evening slowly, or they might be at work during lunchtime. You may have a younger demographic who are continuously connected to social media throughout the entire day, so it's kind of sporadic. Maybe early in the morning, maybe Saturday all day, none on Sunday. You really have to learn your audience for your social media content and marketing strategy to be effective, not just a blanket coverage. Now, learning your audience, learning the trends, certain audiences use certain languages. Hence, this language become a trend. What does this trend of language look like? Keywords and hashtags. Trending keywords and hashtags may differ on many different platforms. As you may know, that each demographic, each age group, each generation has different languages for different things. It might be a trending topic, but different demographics, you use different words on each different platform. So if you have 1 or 2 graphics to promote your product or your service or your event, and one platform may receive a lot of attention from a blanket promotion, another platform, it may not do so well because the language necessary for that platform, for that demographic on that platform might not be met. Because those keywords and hashtags may be strong on one platform, not on the other one, and there might be a disconnect in the language. So you have to learn your audience. You have to know who they are. Ask yourself, are they interested in your content or objective? What platforms are they most engaged? When and how do they consume content? Learn how they speak, what words they use. All right. You have to set goals. What do these goals look like? What aspects, what components of the goals should be met first? Again, this is a general overview, but you'll hear the acronym SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So if you have a product, service, or event, must be specific. What's the goal of that? Got to be measurable. How are you going to measure your aspect of your success of the services you're trying to promote on Facebook? What is the measurable aspect of product you're trying to sell? Are you trying to sell tickets to an event? You have to be able to measure to see if your goals are being achieved with your strategy. Are they achievable? If you're going back to an event, if you're trying to sell 500 tickets by a certain day, does your strategy allow for that? Is it a short period, long period? How much money did you put in it? Does your message actually dictate, will that dictate how many tickets you will sell? Are you reaching the right market in the way they need to be reached? Is it achievable? One, is it relevant? Your campaign for a certain aspect has to come in a certain time where things are trending, where people are looking for this certain thing. In social media, a season can be 2 days. It could be a week. It could be 2-3 weeks. It has to be relevant what you're pitching. And sometimes you can look at the trending things and that'll help you determine the relevance of your strategy. How are people saying it? What is the current look? What's the current approach? What's the current language? What other events are being promoted? Look at the competitors. What catches your eye? There is so many levels to being relevant on social media. Timely. Is this a good time for this campaign you're pushing? You look at the news, you look at the, I sign up for 2 or 3 social media examiner, Ad Age magazines, where they kind of let you know there's a certain time aspect of things coming up on the internet that could really affect your campaign. It's almost like watching the weather. You may launch a social media content and marketing strategy at the wrong time where there's a wave of social media content that will overshadow you. You really have to pay attention to this aspect. When it comes to setting goals, there are 2 types. And the first type is business objectives. And I'm gonna give you a few examples. Increase exposure. Might have a brand name you're trying to push out. So you might not be pushing product, but you're pushing a name. So when you go out in the streets or whatever, you're pushing a product, your business name has exposure so people may recall it from your marketing strategy. That depends if that's one of your goals or your strategies. Increase external website traffic. Again, if you have your own platform where you have all your content you're creating, your audio podcast to your video podcast or your blog, all of it could be on a website. One goal is to get people to come to your website. That's a business goal. Brand awareness. Now, increased exposure is that you already have exposure, you have a brand, but you want to increase it to the region or another demographic. Brand awareness is that initial movement. If you're just starting out, hey, we want people to know our name and our brand. Again, are you trying to sell products, services, or events? These are examples of business objectives. You need to determine if you're about business or are you into social, which is Example, growing social media page followers. Right now, Facebook is in the process of removing the like button from the pages. It's going to be follow, because there's more engagement when you follow a page than when you like a page. If there's anybody in the chat today that's on Facebook, here's a challenge. Go back in your history and your profile and just look at how many pages you have liked since you've been on Facebook. And then ask yourself, how engaged are you with that page that you liked? Well, there's a low interactive activity for just liking pages, or even seeing posts from a page that you liked. So in a minute, Facebook will discontinue the like button and push the follow button, or just have that one. So that will become a goal for many organizations socially. The second thing is post engagement. You might just post information, sharing information, or directing someone else to another platform, and you just want to see people engage with that post. You might not be selling a product, but you just want to provide information. So your post, you want to get post engagement. That's a social media, that's a social objective. So you got business and you got social. You have to determine what side you're on, which will also help establish the goals you're trying to get into or to establish. Another step is plan your content. What type of content will be used? Are you using text? Are you going to do a blog? Trying to direct people to a blog? Are you using the image to get someone to visit your platform? Are you using video or a link or all the above? A lot of the times when you have more than one aspect of content to perform the same objective, it can cause confusion. Let's say you have an image to get someone to come to your website. Then all of a sudden you see a video for somebody to come to your website. Well, depending on your target audience, one demographic may get a little confused about the approach. Another one may embrace it. You have to be careful about the multifaceted aspect of using multiple types of media. So stick to primarily one, maybe two. But when we get to distribution, you utilize it, distribute it at a certain time frame to a certain audience, to a certain platform. Certain content works better in other platforms than others. For example, video, Instagram more so than Facebook. Image, you can go to Pinterest outside of Facebook. So you have to understand the platforms and the content that works best on those platforms. Now, while you're planning your content, what is your message across platforms? And I've kind of said this already. Through different platforms, you have different audiences. They speak different languages. What is your message across each platform? Again, this is not one size fits all on social media. And the demographics change regularly, depending on the content, depending on the trend, depending on the environment. It changes across social media. You have to really gauge it and stay on it on a consistent basis and stay in the know to determine what your message is and how you're going to approach it and what platform you're going to use. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. There's a couple other platforms, Tumblr, to Reddit. You have to sit down and plan this out. This is, again, social media content and marketing strategy. Very basic. All right, when you have your content, you have your editorial calendar. When you are studying your audience, again, you have to know their habits, when they're consuming the content, how they're consuming it. This is your calendar. A lot of people who put content on social media, and I'm sticking with Facebook, and they say, okay, we're just gonna boost it for 2 weeks. Blanket area coverage may work, may not. It's a lottery approach. Well, if we can get a lot of people doing this, it's great, fantastic. But you have to be strategic for the target audience and you'll be more successful in your goals. And again, the content and editorial calendar, let's say you got 2 types of content or say 3, but you're going to use on 3 platforms. So let's say your calendar can look like on Facebook, we're going to run ads Monday through Friday for this target audience from 9 to 12. On the following week, we're going to run a campaign on Twitter from 6 to 9 for this target audience. And then that third week, you can combine the two, Facebook in the daytime and Twitter at night, depends on the results that you're getting. Now, here is where you're starting to promote and distribute your content. Again, this is the content that will drive your audience or your goal. If your goal is to drive people to your platform, to your primary hub of your content, or sell tickets to an event, provide services, here is the distribution of this content to initiate that or achieve those goals. One, you have to be strategic. Again, your target audience, when you're going to hit them, how you're going to hit them, and you have to really study the industry to figure out how to depend on what you're serving, providing, or selling. Well, coming to an event, you have to be strategic and just Google search and look for the hottest trends. Watch other campaigns. Now, other campaigns could consist of following a certain page that promotes events in your city or other national pages you follow. Look at what they're doing. If you deem this company or organization successful in their campaign and how you might engage with it, or you hear people talking about it, I always suggest watch the primary platform to see what they're doing, replicate it. Again, not just a blanket boosted campaign across Facebook and Instagram. You have to plan this out. Stand out. So in this clutter of social media, meaning it's a lot of information coming across, there are a lot of people promoting social media content. They're looking for the organic approach, people sharing, you have other people that are boosting. Just imagine in your area, you have an event that you're trying to promote or boost. Well, imagine another 50 people in your area who have an event or product or what have you to sell, boosting the same way. So let's say the next 3 or 4 weeks, everybody's boosting some type of service, event, or product. And everybody's doing it at the same time. Just a blanket coverage. How are you standing out with that? When you have a strategic marketing strategy, you can say, well, you can assume that 50 people are boosting and they're just boosting all times of the day. Well, if you're strategic with it, you say, well, I'm only going to boost during this time because I know my target audience. This is what time they are consuming content. A boosted campaign could be hit or miss, and it could be direct. Or you can be on another platform and do the same strategy with a different language. So you have to stand out because there's a lot of people boosting, distributing, running so-called marketing strategies at the same time. So there's a lot of clutter. Measure results. Now with the measured results, this is a matter of once you got your 5 W's, as I mentioned, and your goals. If you have an event and you want to say, well, we're looking for 200 tickets to be sold. Now, again, this is basic. There's a lot of analytics that you can go into. But if your basic goal is to sell so many tickets by a certain day with your social media campaign, you can measure that. You can go into Facebook, the YouTubes of the world, the Twitters of the world, and look at the levels of engagement, i.e. the click-through rates, the viewerships, the engagement results, and see if those analytics resulted into or provide any progression to your goal of, again, event-based selling tickets. If you have product, do you have a goal of having so many questions or somebody emailing you about the product or going to an email newsletter database? These are the basic aspects of measuring results. Now, if you ran a campaign for a certain period of time for a particular audience using a particular language, and if you're not seeing results, the strategy lets you go back and say, okay, if you got this in the outline, here's what we did before. Now this helps you guide yourself, say, well, we're not gaining traction, so let's change this up. Let me change the time, let me change the language, let me test this out differently. Again, most people will get to a point where we're just going to stick this graphic in here, and hopefully, well, the one aspect I mentioned, they look for the organic distribution. Well, we're just going to share it on our page, and hopefully people will share it. Or they'll put in a post, in a text with a post, please share this information. Hopefully someone else will be of interest. That's the organic reach. But if you had a paid system, here's where you want to be able to adjust it to talk to different markets on different platforms to get different results. With a boost, some people say, well, it didn't work this 2 weeks. Maybe we'll do it again and do it for the next 2 weeks. Still the blanket approach. Marketing strategy will help you save time, save money, and have better results. All right. So a lot of times when you start talking about social media content and marketing strategy, a lot of people don't know where to start when they think about social media content and marketing. So if you've been on our previous webinars, we've discussed web blogging, we've discussed video podcasting, we've discussed audio podcasting, writing for the web, and what have you. Now, when it comes to promoting your event, sometimes you need to create imagery to lead people to your primary platform. And I've shown this platform section before on where to start. So if you have your major platform, again, here is Canva. This could be a depiction of a certain image with certain text. This is where you apply your language. This is where you apply your keywords. They have a free service. They have paid service. But one thing I suggest is go through Canva and look, they'll have a section in there about trending templates, trending images. Not only are keywords and hashtags trending, but also images, styles, fonts. Sometimes it's better just to create snap an original photo yourself, take it into Canva to start with the imagery. Again, this is all about what message you're going to display, who you're going to display it to. So you have to be careful. Does this content actually reflect your platform? You might have a website, you might have a video blog. If your imagery does not relate to the platform you're trying to get people to visit, that's if you're trying to get people to visit your platform, it can create a disconnect. So Canva is a good place to start, to start creating imagery. That's the first place to start. They even have video components you can use. You have Pixlr. That's another platform that gives you more control outside of Canva. This is where you have it easier with the fonts. You can do better, different layouts, and they all provide you templates for your different platform. Again, based on your target audience. The target audience are more fluent or consume more on different social media platforms, and there are dimensions and templates for each one. Even if you do YouTube, there's a template for YouTube. There's a template for Pinterest. There's a template for Facebook. There's a template for Twitter to provide, or Instagram as well, to provide the greatest impact for your content. Again, these are snapshots or snippets of your primary platform being utilized on different social media platforms to attract people back to your platform, i.e. through imagery. It could be sound clips, it could be snips of video. Pixlr doesn't have video, but they have still imagery platform. But Canva has still imagery and video. Now, Pixlr is a stronger template, and you can create some animations, but this, for me, Pixlr, they have better control over your art and the direction you want to take it, and not a template. To me, this is a better platform, because Canva, since I'm in the world of this social media, digital media, Canva is starting to advertise more. So a lot more people are going to Canva. What does that mean? There's a chance that you may pick a template that someone else is using in your same area, and you might have a blur. My definition of blur, you might have the same image but different logo, different text. But as people are scrolling to social media, it's a blur because you may look the same and they'll just pass on by. Pixlr, that's why I go to them, because you can have more control creating your own imagery, even though they give you some trending aspects, but here you can be more original with your content. And there's some more pages on that. All right, there's another page on Pixlr. So with online design and publishers tools with provided social media templates as Canva and Pixlr, Pixlr. Now, if you're looking for more images, still images, video or music, you have Pixabay and Pixel. So let's say you have a campaign, you're trying to project a certain image or a certain theme of your content that you're going to use in your marketing strategy. You can go to Pixabay or Pixel to get images based on your message you're going to send to your target audience through your marketing strategy or distribution. Now, if you don't want to use these services, again, I suggest, based on what you're going to say, grab imagery yourself on your phone. Because right now, the current trend is be original. But again, these services, you do your deep search, you can find what you're needing and still have that impact. So you got Canva, Pixlr, Pixabay, and Pixel. Those are the 4 main platforms to create and use still imagery. Now, I focus on this because that's the first aspect, again, that people refer to in creating social media content for their marketing strategy. These services here. Now, a lot of people out here are not graphic designers. If you want to start out basic, these are the 4 platforms I suggest you use. Now, I'm gonna stop right here. And if you have any questions on anything or want to go back to anything that I referred to, submit your questions in the chat box. If you have any questions on the aspects of social media content and marketing strategy, if you have any questions I have not answered in this presentation, or some thoughts that you've had while I was presenting some of this, please place your questions in the chat box. Now, earlier I mentioned, if you go back, if you've been watching the webinars, this is really all of the topics we talked about, from digital storytelling, web blogging, audio podcasting, video podcasting. Now this is being all melded into a strategy. You got your platform created. How are you going to get people to come and consume your content? Is it organic? Are you going to have an email listing? Are you going to have a distribution team? Are you going to do it yourself? What kind of content are you going to use? Who is your demographic? Have you even done an outline? Did you have any plans? When you started creating your content, one of those 5 W's, why are you on social media? Are people wanting your content? So all the previous webinars have come together. Now you're at this place of, how do I now get this out? How do I get people to engage this? A lot of times with social media content and marketing, you have to have paid campaigns. A lot of these platforms are heading to that way. Matter of fact, Facebook, on one note, they actually are reducing the organic reach. They've been doing it for a while. They're pushing people to put more money on campaigns. I actually had an email from one of the webinar viewers from last week. I suggest do a Facebook ad campaign, not just a boost. Boost is the blanket approach. Now, you may not know aspects of marketing, because marketing also comes into play of determining what message you're going to put forth. What are you going to say? Who are you reaching? A lot of these answers can be on a simple Google search. All right. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I'll pause it right here to see any thoughts you may have, questions you may have. It could be on the previous webinar. And also, again, our previous webinars on our website at pbswesternreserve.org/digital storytelling. And this is actually the last webinar of the series, and we're going to be developing a curriculum, more in-depth curriculum here shortly. More in depth on the different topics we've shown, from audio podcasts and websites and what have you, even from the marketing strategy components. All right, let's see here. All right, for those in the chat box, did you have any thoughts on the aspect of social media marketing? Did you think it was this intense in regards to social media content and developing a strategy? Have you ever had to create an outline of what you want to do before you did it? A lot of people don't. A lot of people come to me and will tell me that their campaign really didn't reach the market or intended goals. And most of the time it's just because they did not have a plan. So for the most part, a social media content and marketing strategy is just an outline and a plan. Who are you gonna target? How are you gonna target? What's your message? Develop the content and then set up a campaign behind that. All right, Geraldine, you had no idea about any of this. It's much more complicated than it seems as a consumer. It can be. That's why I kept this basic. If you have a serious goal, now most of the time as a consumer, if you want to get started, it's good to have a team. You have more heads are better than one, where you can actually determine who the audience is. Your audience could be your team. What words resonate? But it's just a simple outline to make sure you are successful in your goals. I think I mentioned before where someone can do a video podcast and they're thinking they're going to receive so many views because they have good content, they're excited about it, and they just throw it out there, wait for organic reach, but they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a team. But having an outline or plan sets up your plan, your strategy for success, your whole efforts of what you're trying to do. If you have a blog, a video podcast, or whatever your efforts are, this is what this is about. I think it all makes sense, a lot of sense when you presented the steps. Preparation is so important. Exactly, because again, there's so many people out here in social media land just doing blanket promotions. Next time you go on social media, just look at all the content. The content could be just promotions, advertisement, comments. You got to think about the memes. You got to get through all this clutter. So to have an outline in preparation, that helps you sift beyond the clutter to make sure your message is received. You're welcome, Bernadette. It's a lot. It's like I said, it makes you think about the social media. About the same thing with television. This same process is done with television. They study the target audience. Prime time programming is prime time social media content consumption, depending on the target market. So this covers across many facets. Same thing with radio. Same thing with social media. Same thing with every platform that you want to promote on. From email newsletters. If you sign up for anybody's email newsletters, look at when your email newsletters first come in. Some come in early in the morning, some come in midday, some come in late in the evening. If you have notifications on Facebook, when do you get most of your notifications? When is most of the content posted? This is the process. There are many steps, many things to think about, and I'm actually going to take a step back and go back over a couple of things. You got the 5 W's, and these are the first 5 questions that you should first write down before even starting the strategy. Why do you want to be on social media? Who is your target audience? What are you going to share? Where and when are you going to share? Those are the first 5 questions. And you can, once again, go back to our previous webinars Go back and review. There's also these presentations with the webinars online. Just take their process, and I will guarantee you, if you go through these steps, go back to the previous webinars, you can start developing content with more confidence and a surety of success. And it's all about the preparation. All right. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? And hopefully with this aspect of this will reduce the anxiety of creating content, because there's a lot of anxiety. People get very anxious before they start creating content. You have a mixture of excitement, you have a mixture of anxiety, and some people just react on both without the plan, with no goal of success. They just hope. This would assure that. All right, I'm just gonna keep going through here. You're welcome, Geraldine. Again, you can, this PDF and webinar will be up shortly after this ends. Now just go back over the couple of definitions. You're welcome, Arlene. Hopefully everybody learned something today, or made you think, or made you more confident before you start creating content. And the second definition of the social media strategy is the outline of your social media goals, tactics, and measurements to track progress. Your number one goal should be success. And that's what we're here at PBS Western Reserve, to provide this training and kind of help you walk the journey of developing content and establishing or reaching success in your goals. And if you don't have it, we'll help you create one, or some. All right, any other questions? Any other comments? No, Claudia. Whenever if you just Google it, there are many platforms like Social Media Examiner, and you just look for top demographics for Facebook or top demographics of social media platforms. Is all this information is free on the internet. Yeah, actually, some of the third-party services will give you a better look at the demographics and their engagements, more so than the platforms will. Depends on the user interface and how they lay it out, but it's all free. You just go through and find out more information than others. Now, there are paid services, but for this level, you pretty much get all the information that you need. Age, income. Now, when it gets to careers, not so much, but income, time of consumption, growth patterns. Another one's called eMarketer. That's EMARKETER, eMarketer.com. They provide a good in-depth, free information on demographics and patterns. I signed up for their newsletter. That's eMarketer, and then you have Social Media Examiners. Those are the top two I kind of go to. They give you information on products, services, events, not so much, it's more like business, but you can get a good gathering of what you need to do in regards to just events, or reaching out to who you need to reach to. Again, the social media strategy is the outline of your social media goals, tactics, and measurements to track progress. Write out an outline. The other one was Social Media Examiner. I actually went through a 2-week long webinar with them, Social Media Examiner. You're welcome, Claudia. And again, you can reach me here at the station. You can email me and I'll provide you more information beyond that. Jump to the end. You can reach me at fbarrett@pbswesternreserve.org. And I'm here and I provide you all the information you need to help you get started. And once we get the curriculum set up, and it'll be a self-paced aspect and more in depth. We got, all right, SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Let's see if I go back to that quick. Smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. A lot of these aspects that I share, if you Google that too, you can find a lot of in-depth information on that. And again, this is a basic overview. All right. And again, any other information, I'm here for you. Just shoot me an email. I'll provide you more information, other resources to help guide you along. And once you get the curriculum going, and sign up for the email newsletter, be notified of this. And again, you can go back to our website to watch previous webinars. And even if you need me to, I can send you all the PDFs for the presentations. I do get a lot of emails of people saying they're taking notes and looking for the PDFs, but you can go to our website and pick those up as well. There are PDFs to download for free. All right, any other questions, thoughts? You're welcome, Bernadette. All right, if there's not any other questions or thoughts, hopefully this makes you want to sit down and plan out your digital content development and create it, produce it, and market it with confidence. Hopefully it does that. Once again, my email is fbarrett@pbswesternreserve.org. Arlene, I'm here. You can email me any questions anytime that you like. You're welcome, Geraldine. You're welcome, Rich. And if you have an anxiety and you need steps and equipment to get to platforms to start on, to practice, that's one thing I always tell people is to practice your content. If it's a video podcast, audio podcast, practice it first before you create the outline. Get your team. A team will always help come up with better approaches, better perspectives before you put yourself out here on social media. The road to success, I always start with a plan, like a business plan to a social media marketing plan. Okay, well, if there's not any, if there is any more questions or thoughts, again, you can feel free to reach me at fbarrett@pbswesternreserve.org. And again, you can watch and download past digital storytelling presentations at pbswesternreserve.org/digital storytelling.